So tonight will be Matthew chapter 1, and we'll be beginning... The book of the generation of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat Judas and his brethren, and Judas begat Phares and Zerah of Thamar, and Phares begat Esrom, and Esrom begat Aram, and Aram begat Amminadab, and Amminadab begat Nason, and Nason begat Salmon, and Salmon begat Booz of Rachab, and Booz begat Obed of Ruth, and Obed begat Jesse. And Jesse begat David the king, and David the king begat Solomon of her that had been the wife of Urias. And Solomon begat Rehoboam, and Rehoboam begat Abia, and Abia begat Asa. And Asa begat Josaphat, and Josaphat begat Joram, and Joram begat Ozias. And Ozias begat Jotham, and Jotham begat Achaz, and Achaz begat Ezekias. And Ezekias begat Manasseh, and Manasseh begat Amon, and Amon begat Josias. And Josias begat Jeconias and his brethren about the time they were carried away to Babylon. And after they were brought to Babylon, Jeconias begat Salathiel, and Salathiel begat Zerubbabel. And Zerubbabel begat Abiud, and Abiud begat Eliakim, and Eliakim begat Azor. And Azor begat Sadoc, and Sadoc begat Achim, and Achim begat Eliud. And Eliud begat Eleazar, and Eleazar begat Mathan, and Mathan begat Jacob. And Jacob begat Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Jesus, who is called Christ. So all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations, and from David until the carrying away into Babylon are 14 generations, and from the carrying away into Babylon unto Christ are 14 generations. So this is the genealogy, starting with Abraham and working all the way down to Joseph, who was to be basically the father of Jesus on this earth. Okay, now of course we will point out that Joseph was not really the biological father of Jesus, because Jesus was born to Mary, who was a virgin, and God is in essence his father. But as far as the records would show, Joseph was his adopted father, right? Because he was then married to Mary, and they raised Jesus as their son. So as far as the records would be concerned, Jesus would be Joseph's son and would appear there in the genealogy. So that's the purpose of listing the genealogy. And some of the names that are mentioned here, obviously there's no driving need to recognize every single name on the list, right? But some of the key names are Abraham at the very beginning, right? Because Abraham is one that was promised by God that his descendants would be blessed. So, and certainly they were blessed, that they eventually led to the Son of God being born. So Abraham would be a key name on the list. David is a key name on the list, right? Because it was prophecies about the descendants of David would be the kings, right? Because David was the king, and sometimes Jesus is called the son of David in some of the gospel stories. People refer to him as the son of David, so that's what that means, that he was a descendant of David. All right, so those are some of the key names on there. Now, when it gets to verse 17, this is a little summary here by Matthew, as far as looking back over these names. Now, as far as I can tell, the idea that 14 generations from this to there and this to there, there's no really, that I can tell, really driving reason why that's even significant. Some people say, well, 7 is kind of a special number in the scripture, so 14 is 2 times 7, right? But it's trying to show some symmetry, but I don't think there's, I already mentioned Abraham and David are key names, so saying, all right, Abraham to David is 14 generations, that's good. 14 generations from there till the carrying away into Babylon, to me seems actually almost random, right? And then there's another 14 down to Jesus, right? So, it's kind of summarized that way, but, again, I don't know that there's any real reason why that needed to be said, but I guess he found it interesting. But some people who have tracked through all these names and matched them up with some of the same names in the Old Testament say that there may even be names missing from the genealogy, so there might actually be a different number than 42, right, if you really were to add it all up. And also one other thing, now if you count the names, you'll find there's there's 41 names, okay, not not 42. And the reason for that, which to me even further mystifies me as to why they even bothered to be listed 14, 14, 14, is that if you see in verse 17 it says the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations. From David till the carrying away to Babylon are 14 generations. David's counted twice. See David's in the first 14. He's the 14th of the first group and the first of the second group, 14. So David's actually listed twice here. So whereas it's true that it's 14, 14, and 14, but yet David is in two of the groups. So really it's only 41 different generations. So again, to me that makes it even more questionable as to why it's even that interesting that it's 14, 14, and 14. But anyway, that's such it is. So that in case anybody was going to count them up and then find there's 41, that's why there's 41, because David is in two of the groups. Okay. Right, so that's the genealogy. Now the only purpose really of the genealogy again is to show where in essence Jesus came from in the genealogy, because genealogy was important at the time. Who was your father and who were your ancestors and what family line you came through. So that was important to the record keepers to know where Jesus was related to and what family line. So that's why this is listed here. Now the birth of Jesus Christ was on this wise: when as his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with child of the Holy Ghost. Then Joseph her husband, being a just man, and not willing to make her a public example, was minded to put her away privily. But while he thought on these things, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a dream, saying, Joseph, thou son of David, fear not to take unto thee Mary thy wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Ghost. And she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Jesus, for he shall save his people from their sins. This is the beginning of the telling of the Christmas story as far as the Matthew version. Okay, there again is also a version in Luke, which the Luke version is probably the most popular one that we read, but this one occasionally we read also in Matthew. All right, and so as you can see, it says the birth of Jesus Christ was on this wise. All right, so now his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph. So Mary was engaged to Joseph, so they were already, I guess, promised to be married, right? And so, typically the way it would work then is the man or the man's family would approach the woman's family and, can we make an arrangement here for your daughter, for a husband, for a wife? And so that was done, right? So that Joseph or his family would have approached Mary's family, and so Mary's father would have said, fine, you can have Mary for a wife. So they were engaged to be married at this point. Right, but now during that period, as it says, before they came together, in other words, before they did what would cause a baby to be born, right, it says that she was found with child of the Holy Ghost. So therefore, that she was now pregnant, but yet, Joseph said, "No, well, it's not my baby, right? Because I haven't touched her, right? We haven't come together." So that's why then in 19, this is Joseph, her husband, being a just man and not willing to make her public example, was minded to put her away privily or privately, right? Because there were different options that Joseph had at this point. See, Joseph as the husband to be, now he finds out his wife to be is having a baby, which means she's been unfaithful, or she's been with another man. So now there's options. The one option for a woman who committed adultery would be to be stoned. To be stoned, okay? That's like we saw in the Gospel of John, where they dragged the woman out and they were going to stone her, right? So that was one option. He could have said, I haven't touched her and she's pregnant, so obviously she's doing another man, so kill her, right? That was one option, right? Or another option, which is what he was thinking of doing, was to basically just end the engagement. And he says, put her away privately. In other words, he would just walk away from it and say, you're on your own, right? He wasn't going to make a public example out of her and just whatever, you can have your baby, be happy, and and I'll just walk away from it. So that's what he was thinking he would do in 19. Because he didn't want her to be killed. He didn't want to totally humiliate her or whatever. So he just said, I'll just walk away. Right, but now in 20 you see what happened. It says, while he thought on these things, it says the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a dream. Okay, which again, this is nice when this happens. That the Lord sends direction. So it says the angel of the Lord appeared and said, Joseph, thou son of David. And how do we know that Joseph is a son of David? We just read it in the genealogy, right? We just read it in the begats, right? Or in the genealogy that David was in the line and that Joseph was in that line. So that's why it says Joseph, thou son of David. Fear not to take Mary as a wife. Don't be afraid to take her as a wife, because what's conceived in her is of the Holy Ghost. So I'm sure she told him, I haven't been with another man. And in the Gospel of Luke, it describes the whole encounter with the Holy Ghost and coming upon her, and then she was found with a child. So again, here it's abbreviating this part, but I'm sure she told him, I didn't do anything wrong. I wasn't with another man, and it would be a tough sell, for him to believe her, to say, well, no man's touched me yet, I'm having a baby, so how can that be? So he really couldn't believe her until he had this dream, where it says, don't worry, because what's conceived in her is of the Holy Ghost. And she'll bring forth a son, and he'll call his name Jesus, and he's going to save his people from their sins, right? So that the angel of the Lord told him that what she is saying is true. So believe her, don't be afraid to take her for a wife, and she's going to have a son, you're going to name him Jesus, and this is what he's going to do. Okay, so again, it's good that Joseph had that dream and that the Lord spoke to him, because it was intended that Joseph would be her husband, so God didn't want him walking away or doing anything else to try to mess things up. So he said, don't worry, you'll get to marry her, and this is going to be the son, and he'll call him Jesus.
Now all this was done, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which being interpreted is God with us. Then Joseph, being raised from sleep, did as the angel of the Lord had bidden him, and took unto him his wife, and knew her not till she had brought forth her firstborn son, and he called his name Jesus.
22 and 23 is pointing out, as the Gospels often do, that things that happen involving Jesus often fulfill prophecies, right? Prophecies from the Old Testament. And so that's why it says here in 22, it says, all this was done that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet. In Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14, it says what you see in verse 23. It says, Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel. Right? So that was foretold by the prophet. So therefore, it was known that it was going to be a virgin birth, right? That someone who was a virgin would have this baby, and so this was Mary fulfilling this prophecy. So Joseph, in perhaps knowing that, is to put it together and say, wow, that this is it. This is the fulfillment of the prophecy that was said in the book of Isaiah. And now I would point out that the name Emmanuel, right, has a certain meaning, as it says there, being interpreted as God with us, right? And so that's it was, as far as him being Emmanuel, as far as I know, nobody called him Emmanuel, right? But really, what it means is God with us, because Jesus, being the Son of God, right, really a representation of God in the flesh. So that's the portion of God that would be with us, or that would be here on earth. So God sending a portion of himself down to earth as the Son of God was Jesus coming, all right? So that's why he said it's God with us. So that's what the Emmanuel part means, right? And so now 24 says, Joseph woke up and did as the angel of the Lord had bidden him, and took unto him his wife, right? And now, let me ask you a question. How soon do you think he took her as a wife, or that he married her? It would have been very soon, right? So now why would he move that quickly? I don't know if they hadn't necessarily had a wedding date yet, so why would he have married her quickly? Since she's already pregnant, right? And now we don't know necessarily how early she told Joseph that this was happening, all right? But once it became clear that she was going to have a baby, well, now it was starting to get weird, right? Because other people would see this, and she's not married, so basically, he would have married her quickly so that people would think it was his baby, right? And so that's why they married, quickly, and this way she could have the baby, and so I'm sure everyone in the neighborhood, if you will, or in the community assumed it was his baby, and he says he married her, all right. But in 25 it says, knew her not until she had brought forth her firstborn son. In the Bible, when it says that a husband or let's say a man knows a woman, right? It doesn't mean that he knows who she is, right? It means that he has sex with her, right? So in this case, it says that even though they married, whereas typically of course the husband and the wife would have sex on the wedding night, but it didn't, right? It says he knew her not until she brought forth the firstborn son and called his name Jesus, right? So therefore they held off on that part. So this way, again, there's no question and then no interference with the pregnancy. And so then afterward, then it was fine, right? And plus, she was supposed to be a virgin when she gave birth, so that allowed that to happen as well. And of course, notice it says he called his name Jesus because it was up to the husband to pick the name, basically. The husband picked the name. So he was told in the dream, you'll name him Jesus, and so he called his name Jesus, just as the angel of the Lord had told him.